Shalom, Naftali Moses.
Shalom.
So tell us please about this special musical project that's being recorded today.
Okay. We're here in in South Tel Aviv, in a rather bohemian section of Tel Aviv, in a studio, recording studio, and recording a concert, making it into a disc of music that's based on Psalms. That a friend of mine, Baruch Brenner, who's an actor and a singer and a movie director also, is involved with. And we decided, as a joint project in memory of my son, Avram David, that we would take this concert, the number of songs, 10 or 15 songs that they composed over the years based on Psalms, and bring it to a wider audience by recording it, by recording the music, and that's why we're here today.
So what is it about music that is really something that helps in time of grief, in time of sorrow? You're connecting to this musical project as part of the commemoration of your son.
For us, my family in particular, we found after 3 years ago, after the attack in Merkaz Arav, when my son and 7 others were killed, one of the things that helped us greatly, kind of fill the void, or the hole that was torn in our hearts and in our homes, was Jewish music. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is that Jewish music really manages to be a bridge between the earthly world and the heavenly world. It manages to bridge the gap between what we call in Hebrew Gashmi, the physical world, and Ruchani, and the spiritual world. And we found that for us, in our grieving, it was something that helped us. And I wanted to help this group of musicians who, like most artists, are very talented, but need organizational and sometimes other help to get things going. I wanted to be able to bring their music in memory of my son to a larger audience.
And I understand that it's not just in time of grief and in mourning. Music was something that was with your son, especially in the time of the Yeshiva L'Tzirim.
Yes, Yeshiva L'Tzirim, the Jerusalem Yeshiva, where my son learned, the high school next to Merkaz Arav, was a very musical place. The Rosh Yeshiva was Chazan, and it wound up that my son's teacher, his Ram, the year that he was murdered, is the son, a musician in his own right, is a drummer, but the son of one of the major klezmer musicians of our generation, Musa Berlin, and his son Elishiv. And through him, the idea of using music as a way of, as a memorial to the boys who were killed, and to my son in particular, came to fruition. We made a concert together 6 weeks after the original attack, during the Passover festival, and I've kind of continued with that. I've had a number of concerts in memorial for Avram David, and I found that in addition to being a comfort for me and for my family, I think as an idea it has a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy behind the idea that you can take two completely separate things. You can take ideas and sounds, and you can take the physicality of instruments that are made out of wood, and you create something that people will listen to this album. I can guarantee it will lift up their spirits in a way that I don't know that any great music can. But there's something very special about these musicians, and there's something very special about the composition that they've worked on over the years.
So when people listen to this new album You want them to think about your son, to remember your son?
Yeah, and part of my idea in helping organize this project is that it will also be in memory of my son, and that people will hear this music. And I hesitate to say that it will somehow help elevate my son's memory, but I think it will be connected to his memory, and I think people will connect it to, and I think that that's important, and I hope that my son from above agrees with me. So.
And is singing.
And the singing, I hope so. I hope that. We had a story that I didn't know about. I heard during Shiva that he used to go, I didn't know this at all, that his friend said that on Motzei Shabbat, when they were in yeshiva, for Shabbat, they used to go on Motzei Shabbat, they would go to the hospital, Sha'ar Tzedek, nearby the yeshiva, they could walk there, and there were a group of boys who would go, and some would play instruments, and he would go accompany them and sing to patients who are in the hospital, and it was, I didn't know that he was involved in that at all, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear that about him, that he was involved in helping people through singing, and helping people who were sick and stuck in the hospital like that.
You know, sometimes people hear stories about your son and his friends and feel we'll never be like them.
I don't know if they're unique. I say to people, I think if any of us would leave this world in a tragic way, I think that there would be lots of stories that people would tell, and that sometimes only in passing we realize what's gone. I don't want to take anything away from anybody's memories. My memories of my son are of a normal boy who had ups and downs like any child, and was lovable and aggravating and infuriating and wonderful, all rolled up into one. And the last years of his life, he really dedicated himself. If he could have 24 hours a day, he would have sat and learned 24 hours a day. But he learned 16, 17, 18 hours a day. And one of the discussions, one of the even arguments that I had with him during the last year of his life was trying to find some type of balance between physical needs, whether it's sleep, eating. He tried at one point to go on a special diet of just eating bread and water, thinking that, well, this is what it says in the in the Gemara about how you become a Talmid Chacham. And we discussed this, and one of the examples I brought to him to show that you don't have to really separate the physical from the spiritual in such a dramatic and drastic way was to bring the example of music. And I said, look, you have a musician who's flesh and blood, and he's taking something that's made out of wood, and it's made out of metal, and from these very physical things, he's creating something very spiritual. And there doesn't have to be a disconnect between the two, but rather I think, and also in learning, I think that the best learning really is flows from the physical up into the spiritual and back and forth like that. And we had quite a few discussions about that in the last couple of months of his life, and maybe when I get to the age of 120, and I'll go continue the discussions with him.
And in such a tragic way, he today basically is only spiritual.
Yeah. That's a lot was written about because it was so shocking the way that these boys died, and yeah, that's one of the things that my Rav, who actually today is his yahrzeit, Rav Shagar, he talked about. He said that existence continues, but it continues in a different way. It continues only on a spiritual level, and it's something that here that we're both physical and spiritual beings here on earth. It's difficult for us to understand, but eventually we all reach that point that we just become spiritual beings. So we'll see who was right when I continue the discussion with my son.
Naftali Moses, thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome, Eli.
Ooh.